All right. Well, enough talk about Rams Cardinals, right? Let's dive right into what I guess most people want to talk about because let's be honest here, right? I think most Cardinal fans are checked out. Well, I guess not most. There's some Cardinal fans that are still involved and they still want to see us a win, but we do want to still talk about the trade deadline because it's coming here pretty soon. It's actually on Halloween, is what it's landing on this year. It's Halloween. So it's October the 31st. I believe it's on a Tuesday. So we got 3 games ahead of us. So the Cardinals can either start winning some games and we can stop talking about we're sellers, or we're going to do what most national people out there are thinking that the Cardinals are going to do. And that's probably lose most of these 3 games. Now, I ended up asking my community out there, right? The Arizona sports fan community. I got 914 votes. And I said, are we going to be buyers, sellers, or both? What are your thoughts on this, and what do you think the Cardinals are going to do in this trade deadline?
I think we're going to sell. I think it's a smart thing to do. You have a lot of veteran players, a lot of aging guys, some people on expiring deals. I feel like you got to see what you got, and you got to part ways with some of these guys. It's going to suck because I love Zach Ertz. Don't get me wrong, but that's one of the players that I would say is listed. And we've been talking about it for weeks, but Zach Ertz. I mean, what do we got with Zach Ertz right now? I feel like we have Trey McBride on the bench. You got to get him reps. And for Zach Ertz, you got to do right by him. You want him to compete for a championship on the back end of the years. You want Zach Ertz to win. And I saw so many posts talking about this too. And it was like buyers or sellers for the trade deadline. One of the slides had like 5 slides on like Instagram, and 3 of them were Arizona Cardinals players. I think it was Zach Ertz, James Conner, and like Hollywood Brown. And I was like, wow. And then the other 2 were from the Broncos. It was like Jerry Jeudy and Frank Clark. And Frank Clark just got released. The Cardinals aren't going to release any players. I genuinely believe that. If Zach Ertz doesn't get traded, he's staying on the roster the entire season.
100%.
But we have players. And I don't know how realistic it is for a James Conner trade, but we were talking about that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We were talking about this. James Conner is a realistic player to get traded. His value is at an all-time high. And he does continue, like he consistently gets banged up. And as much as we would love to keep him around, is it time to go a different direction? I don't know. That's something the front office has to come to grips with, and they got to kind of figure out what they want long-term. And if James Conner's that guy at like, 27, 28 years old, do you think you have a couple years, or do you want to sell while he's at an all-time value?
Right.
You have to come up with the decisions. And Zach Ertz's value is never going to get higher. He's kind of at a point where it's sell it now or never sell it. Or if you do, you're basically just going to part ways with them. With 7th round pick, we might get like a 6 this year, 5th round, who knows? You're not going to get much. There's just a couple players. I feel like it's just fringe players. You got Hollywood too. A lot of people have their eyes on Hollywood. I feel like that's a pretty monumental move. And then obviously Budda Baker. I feel like that's like the biggest reach. I feel like that's like the most like unrealistic thing to happen, but it's possible. You requested a trade in the offseason. I know we paid him, but you can't sit here and deny it. Like he is a possibility. If it's the most unlikely, sure, but it's a possibility. What players do you think actually end up getting moved, or are like possible getting moved? Who has the potential to get moved?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Let me go ahead and just answer this here real quick. So just to go back to the poll question, 914 votes. We have 16% saying the Cardinals are going to be buyers. So very optimistic people. We got 64% saying the Arizona Cardinals are going to be sellers. And then we have 20% saying the Cardinals are going to be both. So there's going to be somebody out there that we might get, but also sell at the same time. So I want to make sure that I got all those numbers out there. But that's a very good question, Mythic. I think you actually answered it beautifully. I think all the people that you mentioned are notable people for the Cardinals to possibly move off of. Now, we're not coming out here and saying the Cardinals are going to be having to fire sell, right? We're getting rid of you, right? You're getting a player. No, we're not saying that, but these are realistic players that could possibly be in another uniform by the time the trade deadline comes in. And that's Marquise Hollywood Brown, James Conner, Zach Ertz. Who else did we? DJ Humphries was another name that was thrown out there, which I don't think it's too realistic. And I get it. A lot of people aren't very happy with DJ Humphries because of inconsistent play. But to me, it's so hard to find offensive linemen that are reliable. Although, yes, he is getting penalties, and yes, sometimes he gets beat. But we gotta be honest with ourselves. If we can somehow get another piece in the draft, we got 3 solid pieces, right? I don't want to go back to 2 solid pieces. Let's just keep DJ Humphries, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
And I wouldn't trade DJ Humphries for anything less than a second. And that's just
I agree.
Personally. Just because of how premier the left tackle position is, that is a insane position. It's either a first round or a second round. And I know it seems high, but you got to understand positional value. It's the same thing as an edge rusher. You
Right.
can be a mid edge, like you could be like super middle of the pack. Just because you're an edge rusher, if you have slight production, just like DJ Humphries, like I don't know any edge rushers off the top of my head that would even like compare, but it's just the value is so high at that position. Like Bradley Chubb, for example. Bradley Chubb went for a massive haul.
Right.
DJ Humphries, we could probably get a second round pick at the minimum.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
I wouldn't part ways with them unless we get a second. And if we get a second, then we'll have conversations.
100% agree. Let me give a big shout out here to my guy, Deus here. He says, Toon is the Jean-Claude Van Damme of quarterbacks. All right. Love it. I love the optimism. Appreciate you, Deus. There is also, so those are my 4, but there also is that one notable guy that I know a lot of people don't want to talk about, Budda, is also thrown out there. I think he's going to give us the most value for the Arizona Cardinals. And then I guess if I were to throw that 1-6, which I think these last 3 are just names we're throwing out there, but there's also those rumors about Kyler. I don't think these 3 are very, very realistic. I guess Budda would be more realistic than DJ or Kyler, but there's something to be said about that idea too, right? That Kyler Murray might be moved off of. But as you can tell, the fan base runs through Kyler Murray, right? The excitement is ran through your franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray. Imagine how bad the season's going to turn over if the Cardinals do decide to move off of Kyler Murray, right? Like how bad it would. And imagine if they did do that and then Caleb Williams doesn't come out, right? He's like, I'm going to stay in school after all. It's just another thing that the Cardinals will kind of shoot themselves in the foot. So I don't think it's the best interest for the Cardinals to move off of in this year. Truly, I think evaluation is the number one important thing for the Cardinals to do moving forward. At least that's just my opinion.
It's also not smart to part with Kyler right now because we're not guaranteed the first overall pick, and Caleb Williams isn't guaranteed to come out of college. So, I mean, it's not smart to move him until closer to the draft when you have Caleb Williams' commitment, see if he enters the draft pool. And it's not smart. It just really isn't. Like, it doesn't make sense to part ways with Kyler. Let's say we fall out with like the 4th overall pick. Are we rocking with Drake May over Kyler? Are we rocking with one of these quarterbacks over Kyler? I'm not doing it. Yeah. So it's not smart. And if Caleb Williams is the direction they want to go, that's their decision. You know, we ride with Monty Austin-Fort and Jonathan Gannon. Obviously, I would love Kyler Murray to be the long-term quarterback, but if that's not what they have in their eyes, I can't change that.
Yeah.
You can't change that. Like, we just kind of have to ride with this team and what they do, and it's their decision at the end of the day. But parting ways with Kyler is just not smart right now. And Deus, I saw you with the Budda is off limits. So I really don't want to part with Budda, but it's like, it depends what we get. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the DJ Humphries thing. It depends what we get. It depends where Budda's head's at. Because obviously you want to keep Budda here, and we're kind of tanking and rebuilding. I wouldn't even say tanking, but we're just like rebuilding right now, trying to get this organization back on the right foot, and it's not there. So you kind of got to relay that to Budda. I'm sure he knows, obviously, like this team isn't ultra talented. There's players here that he loves. He loves the fans, but it's like, okay, Budda, we're going to leave it up to you. You're going to tell us what you want to do. We can find a trade market for you, or if you want to stay here long term, that's great. Like, he got paid too, so it's like, it's kind of ball in his court for Budda, in my opinion. Everyone else, I feel like it's just like best by the organization.
Yeah.
And Kyler doesn't make sense to me, but every other name mentioned, super possible.
Yeah. Here's a Deus with another contribution. He says, whether K1 admits it or not, number 3 is the face of the friend. I guess I disagree with this a little bit, although I think both of us agree that Budda Baker is a very heart and soul of this defense.
I think the heart and soul of the team.
That's fair. That's fair. But do you think that the Arizona Cardinal fans will tune in if we have Kyler on the field or Budda on the field? Like,
see, here's my difference. I think Budda's the heart and soul of the team. I feel like Kyler's the face.
Ooh.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Because you can't, like, it's just Budda's not going to attract the people Kyler's going to attract. And he's also a quarterback who has a very flashy play style. Just like Patrick Mahomes, just like Lamar Jackson, just like Jalen Hurts. It's just a quarterback who has an insane skill set who people are going to tune in to see. And especially Cardinals fans, we know what he can do. They're going to tune in because of Kyler. They're not going to tune in because of Budda. But within the organization and everything, people know that Budda Baker is that guy. People rally around Budda. Budda will fire you up. Budda will get this team going. And that's kind of that. I have Budda as... shoot, I don't even remember what I said. My quote went crazy and I just forgot it.
that was a good quote, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna clip that.
Yeah, Kyler's the face, Budda's the heart and soul. And that's just what it is.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. I think that's actually great explained because selling tickets. If you're Michael Bidwell, you want Kyler Murray on the field. It's just
Yep.
it's what it is. But yeah, you're right. Budda Baker is the guy who's going to fire everybody up and not allow people be complacent on the sidelines. And I think that's kind of why we've been talking about the whole Budda Baker thing, because like let's be honest with ourselves, everybody. He's 27 years old, right? When do we realistically think that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be Super Bowl contending, right? Or heck, even a playoff team, right? I think hopefully if you're going to ask the most optimistic Cardinal fan, they'll probably say next year. But most people are going to say a 2-year rebuild from now. What is Budda Baker going to be at 29 years old, right? Although to us, he's still going to be the darling, and he's going to be like Larry Fitzgerald, right? Like we're always going to want to say, Budda, Larry deserved a ring, right? We're always going to say that, but is it realistic that he's going to be a 30-year-old safety with the Arizona Cardinals or a 29-year-old safety and we're going to win a Super Bowl? I don't know, right? This might be the time where he has his all-time value, and I hate the idea of the Cardinals moving off of these big key pieces that obviously ride and die with the Cardinals, and I do think he's one of those guys that's loyal, but you got to realistically think here, right? If you can get more money somewhere else and possibly win a championship, I think Budda Baker would take that in a heartbeat, especially if there's no bad blood with him and the Cardinals right now. Yes, he requested a trade right in the offseason, but I don't think there's any bad blood. I think they really have a good relationship, and I think for the best, if Budda wants this, I think we should accommodate it. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I feel like Budda kind of sees the long-term vision of like, this is going to have to get resolved. Like there's a lot of things in this organization that have to get fixed. And that starts with rebuilding the roster. And I feel like Budda understands that and he can be a key piece long-term. But I just feel like he knows right now. It's like, okay, we're not winning now. We might not even win next year. But the year after that, we might be contenders with what we do in the draft, what we do, what kind of talent we bring in, what we do in free agency. There's a lot that you have to do. Like, honestly, like receiver, you got to help that. Defensive line, got to help that. Corners, got to help that. Like linebackers are like, okay.
Right.
And then you got the offensive lineman. You're going to have to retain a couple positions. You have to build it up. You got to get a better center, in my opinion. You got to get a better left guard. Like there's positions that have to be built out. And it's just, you kind of have to understand that. And I feel like he does understand that. And like you said, you have to accommodate to whatever he really wants. And even if he gets traded or requests that trade or like wants to part ways, I would have no bad blood.
Yeah.
At all. I understand it. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I get it. You want to win. You want to win. And you don't have 3 years of elite football like that. Like, these are your best years of football that you're about to play right now. Do you want to play it for a tanking team? Most people wouldn't. So I wouldn't be mad whatsoever. It's just like the Pat P trade request a couple of years ago. I understood it. It would suck. Don't get me wrong, because these are players that I would love to see ride out with the Cardinals long term, just like Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
But loyalty, it's tough to come around nowadays.
It is.
And I mean, I understand it. A lot of people want to win chips. And as much as we would love to see Budda win a Super Bowl in Arizona, is this his best chance? Or is that getting traded to a team like the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles? It's probably one of those two for now. They have a better 3-year plan than the Cardinals do, because the Cardinals have to rebuild. The Cowboys and the Eagles are win now. And those are teams that are floating around with the Budda trades. And I don't know.
I heard
kind of got to do right. Yeah.
Is very high on Budda Baker. Now whether the Cardinals are going to decide to, get a compensate, agree on a compensation, then that's obviously set for a different day. But I heard the Philadelphia Eagle fans, and I did hear that there was a source out there that's saying that they are pretty high on Budda Baker if he does become available. So I mean, it's the realism of where we're at right now, everybody. We're in October the 13th right now as we're recording this podcast, and we got a little over 2 weeks away for the trade deadline to get here. So we might be into a realization of damn, this coming November football might be really, really sad November and December for the Cardinals moving forward, because we're not going to be seeing those big crucial pieces that we want. So let's continue, because we gave 6 people out there, right? We said DJ Humphries, we said Kyler, which maybe not possible, but Budda, Marquise, Zach Ertz, James Conner. Who were the other ones? Oh, I think I just named them all. Who's the top 2? Do you think that would be going, or maybe even top 1? Do you feel like it's truly you most likely won't see him here in the next 3 weeks for the Cardinals?
I would say in order. I'm gonna kind of go in order, 1 through 6, because it's hard. I'd say number 1 is Zach Ertz for sure. Zach Ertz is kind of the top of the top. Yeah. Just with age, position value that we have on tight end is pretty high, and Trey McBride is right behind him. So I feel like it makes sense to part ways as well. So I would say Zach Ertz at number 1. Number 2, I'd say Hollywood. expiring contract
Yeah.
and a player that has been floated around. The Panthers are looking for a wide receiver. If they don't get it from Denver with Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, I feel like Hollywood is next option. I feel like you can get Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton for a lot cheaper than you would a Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
I would say they go venture out right there. And if they can't get anything, they come to us. And maybe they'd have to pay a hefty price. And obviously I'm not parting ways with him if the price ain't right. So
I agree.
we'll see. I would say he's second. Third, shoot. So it's between Connor, Kyler, Humphreys, and who's the other one?
There was another one. I'm just blanking right now.
I'm blanking too. So Kyler, Humphreys, Budda, Connor. Okay, I would say number 3 is James Conner for sure. James Conner for sure. Because running back position, he's not getting any younger. They tend to bang out and get out of the league a lot quicker than any position in the league. This is probably his highest value based on the season he's having right now. He looks elite. A team would take him on, and like who knows what team will take him on? There's probably a team out there that if listed would call the Cardinals phone. And obviously he gets banged up too. Is he the long-term future? I don't really know. Injuries are a concern. So if you can sell high, you probably do that and you pull the trigger on that. And then I would say the next one gone after that would be DJ Humphreys in terms of realism. And then I would say Budda Baker. I don't know. I'd probably say Budda next and
Over
then DJ Humphreys and then Kyler Murray at the back end because it makes no sense to trade Kyler whatsoever.
I agree. The only thing I would disagree with, I love your list. I truly do. I would move Connor in Hollywood. I would say Connor at 2, Hollywood at 3. For me, because to me, like Ertz is going to go for a very late round pick that we're probably going to feel like maybe violated by the time he's gone. We're like, why? But it makes sense on why he left. James Conner, although running back, he's still kind of, I believe, like top 15 paid running back, which right now teams are not trying to pay that type of money for running back. So if he does go, it's going to be for another late round pick. Although we're like, oh my God, he should be going for a 3rd or 4th. That's not realistic for what Connor might go for. He's a running back.
Go for a 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be pretty less. You said he's going to go for a 3 or 4, you think?
I think he could go for a 3rd.
I think
it
4.
depends what team. It really depends what team takes him in or how desperate they are. Like if it's like, I'd say Kansas City could be in play. The Bills don't really need him. They have James Cook, but like the Chiefs, I could see the Chiefs buying. What other teams? I'm looking at. There's not many. Like there really isn't many teams.
Yeah.
Maybe like. There's really maybe the Browns, but they have Kareem Hunt and James Ford. The Ravens maybe because J.K. Dobbins. I'd say Ravens Chiefs. Ravens Chiefs are like the only 2 teams that I could really see it. But Pacheco's balling in Kansas City as well, so I don't know. It's just that's what I'm saying. The value might be low because a lot of teams have established running backs, and unless there's an injury or something that happens in the next 2 weeks, which knock on wood, hopefully doesn't. Then a lot of teams aren't going to be willing to take on James Conner like that just because of money.
Exactly.
And that's where, that's where the late round pick comes in.
Yeah. If we got a 3, that's a steal. Who did Monty Austin Ford get in this last draft? We got Garrett Williams with a very high potential and Michael Wilson in the 3rd. So like if we got a 3rd, that'd be amazing. I think 4. Especially if we're going to come out here and say, okay, here's the contract. You're to give me a 4th round pick. Or depending on how the Cardinals decide the contract, because I know sometimes it's split. Sometimes the Cardinals pay more of it. It's just going to really depend on
how that would probably get us a higher value right there. If the Cardinals were like, listen, we'll take 100% of the contract for this season. Next season, you take them on the books.
Right.
We'll take it all right now. You guys pay nothing, pennies to you pay $1 million, and we'll pay whatever is left on his contract. Maybe like 9-10 million. We'll take everything off if you give us a higher round pick, and then maybe we're talking a 3rd round. That's very realistic if the Cardinals are willing to do that. Which why would you not go down that route? Because we suck. We already have a lot of dead cap already. We have DeAndre Hopkins cap. We have a bunch of players. Like why not just add to it and then next season off the books?
Yeah, that's how I think of it as well. If the Cardinals are willing to take a good portion of that contract, which I think last time I looked, I think it was like around $9 million cap hit that we're getting for James Conner. So let's see. I mean, let's see what happens. And here's the thing that I like to look at as well. Like it's so crazy because if we do get rid of Marquise Hollywood Brown, like although yes, we're all pretty much infatuated and excited. Well, not infatuated. We're excited about with Michael Wilson. But like if Kyler does come back, you're taking away his number 1 dude. You know what? We're taking his number 1 guy. So like what weapons are you really giving if we're really going on kind of like you're going? So Cardinals really needs to play this very safely. Hey, maybe we don't move. Maybe we don't move anybody. Maybe we're just kind of, standing still and waiting for Kyler to come back to see what we're going to do with these weapons. So we'll have to kind of wait and see.